The other day, I was outside with my kids. I was pulling weeds out of sidewalks and garden beds, and they were climbing trees. I was doing nothing other than sitting and listening while I worked. At 5 months pregnant, sitting on concrete, working on chores, I felt completely at rest. I felt opened and attuned to the conversations that my 2 and 3-year-old were having, and it kind of struck me how elaborate their world was. Their conversations were in that moment with just a tree in their hands, no toy in sight, no screen time in the recent past or promised for the near future.
Look at myself.
This observation gave me some likely unoriginal and repetitive thoughts on screen time, as well as a mindset shift that I have made to make motherhood feel easier. It's not because I think I've made some sort of parenting breakthrough. Sometimes I just think it helps to hear things from an in-the-moment perspective, and we also need to hear things in a lot of different ways sometimes in order for them to really and truly connect with our beliefs. If you are satisfied with the rhythms and the patterns that you have around screen time and other related motherhood type things, then this discussion might not be for you. Feel free to stick around. If you are guilting yourself about how often you allow your kids to sit in front of the TV, or how often you hand them a screen, or guilting yourself about anything that you have in your relationship with your kids, then this conversation is for you. Operating from a place of guilt and shame does so little for us and often keeps us immobilized, unable to do anything about what we're feeling ashamed about. What is it? Matthew 6:27 and 28 say that, "And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to one's life? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow.
Yeah.
They do not toil, nor do they spin."
Butterfly.
I'm by no means a biblical scholar or even a super practiced and studied Christian, but I find so much guidance and meaning in these words, especially in my relationship as a mother. As mothers and parents, I see us striving and struggling and stressing about how we should parent and what we should say and what we should not say to our kids, and shaming ourselves about anything that is less than an Instagram worthy view of our most sacred relationships. And these words from that scripture say to me that we can't grow from that place. We cannot blossom and bloom and open ourselves up to the nourishment of the life-giving sun when we are operating from that place of self-judgment. So this is the biggest mindset shift that I have made to make motherhood feel easier. What if we looked at ourselves with introspection and curiosity rather than shame? How much more room and energy would we have to grow? I think out of my 3 pregnancies, my first trimester exhaustion and nausea was by far the worst with this one. It wasn't morning sickness, it was more like all day nausea, like gagging nausea that would just come and go, throughout the whole day. I also have 2 toddlers at home that I'm caring for while in the first trimester. So in that first trimester at home alone with a 2 and a 3-year-old, our family pattern and routine involved a lot more screens than we were used to. And I have no guilt or shame around that because I was in survival mode. And that's just what it took to get through that pretty intense time period. But when the first trimester fog started to lift, I no longer felt comfortable with those screen time patterns that we had developed. My son in particular is very sensitive to stimuli. So those shows that are created to be addictive and bingeable, I can just tell a huge difference in his mood, in the way that he acts, in the way that he responds to different situations when he's been watching shows like that. I'm pretty careful about what movies he watches because he's just very, very affected by his experiences. But it also happens to come a lot easier for him to sit and watch something than it does for my daughter. So it's just something I really have to pay attention to. So when I made the decision that it was time to break up those first trimester patterns that we had created, I knew it was gonna take work. In this instance, I had to use a muscle that I've been working on developing quite a bit lately, which is personal agency. After taking the context and the history of the situation and all of the struggles into consideration, acknowledging them, we then have to start thinking, okay, what can I do from here? What is in my realm of influence? What is something I can do right now to bring change? I know that's a hard question to ask sometimes, because if we ask it and it has an answer, then that means that we're not perfect. That means that there's something we want to change because we aren't living our values as intentionally, or we lost sight of a goal, or we just haven't been meeting our own expectations, and that is a hard realization to come to sometimes. But at the same time, if we do come at ourselves with curiosity rather than judgment, how much easier might it be to live the way that we really want to live? If we aren't trying to fit ourselves into living the way that somebody else thinks that we should be living, maybe we open up space to just melt into the values and patterns that come natural and feel intuitive and right for us. I think that our common cultural view of motherhood is that it's really hard and that it's just a grind. And I'm not saying there's not difficult aspects, but I think that view is because of our culture. I think that view that motherhood is so challenging and grinding is because of our culture and the words that we allow to be spoken over our lives, not because of the inherent nature of motherhood. The lilies of the field, they don't care what culture says. They don't take criticism from family or social media. They do exactly as they were meant to do, and they blossom. I think the main belief that I'm trying to convey here is that while it is absolutely okay to look around for guidance when we are trying to establish our own rhythms and routines and expectations in motherhood and any other areas of our lives, we can feel a lot more at ease and in control if we get curious and allow our own intuition and our own voice to speak through. I hope that makes sense as just like one kind of like little reframe in your brain, and I'd love to hear what you think about it in the comments. Like, subscribe, do all the things. Thanks for watching.